Welcome back to my long-running review series, Rick Reviews Video Games, where I, Rick, review video games. For those keeping track, this is episode 4. I mean 2. And up today, we'll be covering the latest expansion to Control, AWE. Before I jump in, I'd like to refer you to my review primer. In that video, I give you an overview of my approach to reviews, some background information about me, and provide you some quick reviews to clue you into my tastes. I want to provide you with some context so that you can calibrate my preferences to your own. Hopefully, that will help you make an informed decision on whether to give this DLC a go. Let's get to it. Control is an action-adventure game with light RPG elements that came out in those halcyon days of 2019 when the world was only teetering on the cliff of the end and not sprinting full steam ahead into the eye of the apocalypse. You take the role of Jessie, a young woman with a mysterious, shall we say, companion, who is on the hunt to find her brother. This search leads her to the oldest house, a strange building with strange people and strange occurrences, but also the home to the Federal Bureau of Control. The Federal Bureau of Control seems to be quite inspired by the wiki site SPC. There's one reason, and one reason only, I even know that this wiki exists. And that's because my dear friend Beach has talked at me about this site and its content for years. So, who better to give you an overview of SPC than Beach? Welcome, Beach.
Hey there, folks. First, I would like to point out that it is SCP, not SPC. It's supposed to stand for Secure, Contain, Protect, not Secure, Protect, Contain. That's just dumb. Okay, so SCP is a user-generated wiki, which is also pronounced wiki, located at scpwiki.com, formerly scp-wiki.net, which follows the antics of the SCP Foundation, an extra-governmental group with unlimited resources and a privately public mandate to protect the world reality against anomalies. Kind of like the UCB, but on the internet. The basic structure of a classic SCP is a scientific document written in as specific and technical language as possible that first describes how an anomaly is contained or not contained, followed by a description, history, and any other info that may be available, such as experiment data, exploration logs, interview transcripts, and the like. The wiki also contains stories about SCPs and the different researchers at the Foundation, groups of interests or GOIs, alternate histories, and so many more pieces. These anomalies take many different forms, such as SCP-498, an alarm clock that will rattle the universe out of existence, SCP-093, a stone that when placed on a mirror would transport the viewer to different times in an alternate history of Earth, SCP-3008, an infinite IKEA store. There. This unorthodox storytelling is very compelling and has led to video game and film adaptations, including the one that we're talking about now, Control. You know, it's tough to know where to start, so I will just describe everything in painstaking detail for you now.
He'll just keep going on if we let him. So, let's get back to the setup. As Jesse, you find an object of power, the service weapon, and it sort of imprints on you. This connects you to the mysterious board and makes you the new head of the Bureau of Control. As you play through the game, you learn more about the whereabouts of your brother, gain a deeper understanding of your companion, and in general, learn that there is much you do not know. Now, going forward, there will be spoilers for Control, but you should probably know that because this is a review for the in-game DLC. Also, if you watched my review primer, and go watch my review primer, you'd know that I give Control a 9. The game is pretty great. Throughout Control, you learn about a variety of altered world events, or AWEs, and one in particular, AWE, referenced is some disturbances that happened in Bright Falls, Washington. For fans, this clues you into the fact that Remedy has built their first expanded universe by connecting 2010's Alan Wake to Control. This expansion is to give you a true Alan Wake experience, or an AWE. Hey, I think they did something there. If you haven't already played Alan Wake, go play it. I'll wait. just hit the little pause button and come right back. In case you decided not to play that 15-hour game while having this video paused, or if you are just looking for a light refresher, I'm here to help. Warning, there will be Alan Wake spoilers. This video is now setting the record for the most amount of warnings. In Alan Wake, you play as writer Alan Wake, a successful big city writer who's seeking small town living to help get over his writer's block. Upon arriving to his new home, the S hits the fan pretty quick, and his wife is mysteriously sucked into Cauldron Lake. His cabin disappears, and he loses a few days. When Alan awakes, huh? Anyone? Alright. Okay, well, when Alan ceases to sleep, he finds pages of a manuscript he's the author of, but has no recollection of writing, and the events depicted in his writings seem to predict the near future. Along with that creepy stuff comes the shadow people, who for some reason want to murder Alan to death. Armed with a flashlight and a gun, Alan seeks out on his journey. Ultimately, Alan is successful in saving his wife, but at a heavy cost. He must turn himself over to the darkness. In Control, well, not in control, but hold on a sec. The title was a source of frustration. Seriously, games cannot use one-word titles if that word is such a common word. Like if you're trying to figure something out, you don't know where to go, something's missing, you're stuck, you can't just Google your way out of it. Just try typing Control into Google. The chop choices have little to do with the game. It's very frustrating, but in the game, Control, you learn that Alan may actually be stuck in the Ocean View Motel, which is a sort of nether realm.
And if you are invited to join the page, there are rules, such as you're not allowed to talk about the Foundation or any other content in the forums and comments as if they were real, because it isn't. Unlike Slenderman and r/NoSleeve, both of which are true portals into our horrific reality, not that we really need it. It is 2020. Populating the Foundation are the researchers, the oversight staff, and the D-Class, whom are convicts that have been promised freedom if they participate in the experiments. Unfortunately, this freedom is never realized, as D-Class are almost always lost to the experiments, and if they make it through the experiments, or Procedure 110 Montauk, or what have you, they are still in line for the monthly terminations, so it really is a dangerous place.
See what I mean? He just will not shut up about SPC. Okay, where was I again? Oh yes. In this DLC, you get a call on the hotline from Alan Wake. It appears that you might be in a position to help him escape his non-corporeal, non-space-time continuum position, or whatever. And so you venture into a new part of the oldest house. Side note, the oldest house is such a great idea from the developers. I mean, it's such an elegant solution to so many video game problems. Since the oldest house is always shifting, damage getting reset in rooms is self-explained. New areas for DLC or sequels need no further justification that the building shifted again. Map progression can be achieved simply by shifting the structure as well. Honestly, chef's kiss to that idea. As I was saying, you venture into the new part of the oldest house. Here you encounter some new enemies. I mean, they're leveled up to increase the difficulty, but for the most part, it's just the same hiss enemies you've been fighting the whole time. You do get one new version of the service weapon, which is pretty handy, but really, the approach to this DLC is pretty meh. More than any other part of the game or any other expansion, this DLC just felt rote. Maybe I'm misremembering, or maybe this expansion lacks the engagement of the other parts of the game, but here it felt like you would walk into a room and you'd be like, oh, this is a room for reading, or this is a room for fighting, or this is a hallway, let's run down it. It just felt less integrated and less dynamic overall. On top of that, the only real gripe with the base game was the frame rate issue. I mean, did you ever pause the game? Oh boy, that was just the worst. The frame rates dropped to about, 2 FPS for a few seconds? Yeesh. The game just had balancing issues, or maybe it wasn't optimized or something, but man, those frames drop out like your stoner brother, And I feel like we're on the third DLC now, and the game just still limps along like that. I mean, you should be fixing the game before you start selling me more and more stuff. Then there's Control's Ultimate Edition, and I know this has nothing to do with the review. F you, Remedy. That's not cool. Sorry, just needed to be said. Look, I get it. It's DLC. It's not a new game. But come on. Throw in some new enemies. Give me some new powers. Let me stretch my damn legs and open up. On top of that, why is this called the Alan Wake experience? I mean, he's barely in it. This is almost exclusively about a minor villain, Dr. Emil Hartman. With all the world building between Alan Wake and Control, this is just such a lame addition. The tension was sucked out, it was anticlimactic. We get no further interactions with the board, the former, or even Polaris. Really, the only person you have any interactions with is Langston, the creepy dude holding down the Panopticon. Well, actually there's this pretty funny conversation with this alien entity that was so minor and short it didn't make the experience. The best part was getting to play the combat again, but it didn't feel like a complete package. This DLC felt like a wet fart. Sure, there's less pressure now, but your butt's moist. I give it a 7.
Okay, so I know Rick only asked me to talk about SCP, but let me give you my incredibly valuable opinion. I loved Control. But I think that when they lifted the concept of SCPs, though lovingly done, one can see that the authors were not actual SCP writers, because the use of redactions is, frankly, sloppy. One thing that makes an SCP scary, funny, heartwarming, mysterious, or even more understood is the use of redactions, and understanding that not telling a part of a story can be just as impactful, if not more, than actually enumerating the specifics. It sure is spooky that there is SCP-354, a red puddle, probably full of blood, from which horrific animal abominations will emerge. But having some bigwig redact when those beasts emerged and how many people were killed in this discovery makes it extra scary. I mean, and what the hell happened at Site-13? Huh? I mean, yeah, so, redactions.
Damn you, BJ. Get your own channel. Then you can talk SPC all day.
Are you even listening to me? I'm not even talking about SCP, I'm talking about this game, Control, the one you've done this entire video about. Dude, I've been sitting with you here for hours, helping you record your little video so your mom and brother can see what you thought about the DLC that they won't get for a game they won't play, and all one other person watching will get to.
I think I'm out of time, but I want to leave you with the value added. If you didn't have anything to play, or if you have FOMO for Control, or just a huge fan of Control, then this is for you. But if you've got a deep backlog, or you just don't want to spend $15 on a 7-ish hour gameplay, then you can probably skip this one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment, maybe subscribe to the channel, and check out my other videos. I hope to see you again in another couple weeks. Bye.